Yo, what is good, YouTube? It is your boy James, and today I'm coming at another episode of the previewing and predicting series. And today we're talking about the Atlanta Hawks, who probably made one of the biggest moves of the offseason, if not the biggest, especially in the trade market, getting all-star Dejounte Murray. So we'll talk about that today. Um, I'll talk about some of their young guys, ceiling. I might pull a little would you rather, but I've noticed that those segments are kind of inconsistent for me. Um, but getting into the Hawks roster, I I like it. The Hawks are kind of a tough team to project because I wouldn't be surprised if they were to go on some run. Like if you told me that they were to go out and beat a team like Miami or the Sixers, which they have beat the Sixers before, I I would be surprised. It would be an upset, but I wouldn't necessarily call you crazy. They're a team that I'm a little bit higher on. Um, than other teams, but I also think that they can walk into a playoff series and get smoked in 5 games. So they're kind of a hard team to decipher. But the first thing I want to talk about is just the front and back court because I actually am a pretty big fan of their front court. But with the back court, they made one of the bigger moves of the offseason, and that was getting Dejounte Murray, a move that I'm still just kind of iffy about. It's hard to get a real grasp for um how I really feel about it. Um but I think it's fine. I'm glad they brought in a guy that relieves some duty from their star players. Um because Trae Young is obviously their face of the franchise, and bringing in someone that can counterpart his defensive responsibility a little bit, I think is the right move no matter what. Um, I'm interested to see how Dejounte plays off the ball. Um, that's probably, I would say, the biggest question mark there. But I'm not gonna get too depth into it yet because I want to see it first. Maybe I'll revisit it at some point. But I want to see. I need to see it because I need to see how Nate McMillan is gonna use Dejounte Murray. Um, but on face value, I think it's a good move because you brought in a guy that fits your franchise player. Um, and then talking about the front court, especially the centers, I just think Onyeka and Clint Capella are kind of the two prototypical bigs you would want next to Trae Young, especially Clint Capella, just a monster defender, great in the pick and roll. Um, and I think that those two guys right there are probably two of the best centers that you can have that aren't like these super franchise guys. Um, you would like to see Onyeka maybe take another step, but he also hasn't had um, the most fair opportunity yet. He's definitely had opportunities, but he's never really been a consistent starter. So when it comes from the centers, I really like how the pick and roll game. I think they both defend the rim pretty well, and you hope that Onyeka has another level to hit. Um, when it comes to DeAndre Hunter, I think if DeAndre Hunter, this is the guy that I think he should be, but if he can play more like Michael this year, I think that's when this team's fit can get a lot better. Because I think if DeAndre Hunter is Michael Bridges to an extent, he can fit really well on this team. The John Collins fit is interesting. Um, I like Collins more than most, but I think I would rather I don't think the Pistons would have done this, but I think I would rather see a guy like Jeremy Grant in the 4 spot, just more of a lengthy wing. Um, but I don't think they could have brought in Jeremy Grant and then found another option for John Collins. So I think Collins is fine. He's another good pick and roll guy, but I think I would rather like to see a lengthy wing there, who can score in spurts. Like I said, I think Jeremy Grant would have been perfect, but I don't blame them for not finding a way to get him because um, it would have been tough. So the starting lineup, I think if DeAndre Hunter hits that Michael Bridges type, I think it's scary. Um, I'm interested. I'm not a big draft guy, but Jalen Johnson is a guy that fell on a lot of people's boards. So maybe he can kind of be that guy, but you just paid Collins. For the bench, they obviously got rid of DeLon Wright. Lou Will's not coming back. but I still think the bench unit's pretty good. I would expect to see some AJ Griffin right away, but I think Aaron Holiday is a pretty underrated um, backup point guard. Bogdan, I always get him and the Jazz guy mixed up. But I think he's better in that six-man role. I do think he plays well off of Trey, but I think that defense Murray brings is better. AJ Griffin is a guy that, from what I've heard, can kind of just spot up for that bench, which I think is good. Mo Harkless and Jalen Johnson, I think Mo Harkless will probably win that job at the start of the regular season, and I think he's fine. He's had a long career doing what he does. And then Onyeka, like I said, I think he's fine. I think he plays better off Trey Young than he does the bench unit. But maybe you would like to see a little leap from him coming off the bench. But I think this Hawks team is pretty good. I don't think they're going to be a top 6 seed in the East. I think they'll win around 44 games. I'm glad that, like I said, they're going for it. They threw an offer for KD, but they lost a lot of their picks from the Murray trade. But at the end of the day, Trey Young's going to win you games. I think he's probably going to be a top 10 player next year. Super high on Trey Young. So, yeah, this is a video that I kind of find more boring because I don't have a lot of topics to discuss other than just going over the team. Um, but I think this is going to be a pretty good flowing team. I like Nick McMillan. So yeah, we'll have to see if one of their young guys can take a leap. This team could get scary, but as of now, I'll probably slot them in at about 7 at like 44, 43 wins. Um, you know what? Let me throw up a quick would you rather. I'm gonna find 3 teams that I think are fit. Um, let's just look up Eastern Conference teams real quick on my phone. Um, let's just find 3 teams I think fit. Um, the first one I've got 3 right here. The first one is the Bulls. I think I would probably take. You know what? I think I'd take the Hawks in that series. I like the Bulls a lot. I really do. But I just don't know what their ceiling is. They played the Bucks pretty well last year, but I think I'm gonna trust Trey Young against that team just because of the inconsistencies of Lonzo. I'll have to come back to that one. The next one is the Raptors. I think I'm probably going to take the Raptors in that series. I think defensively they match up well, and I still think they're a good offensive team that I don't know if the Hawks can truly outscore. And then the last team, the Cavs. I think as of now I would probably take the Hawks. I think the Cavs have a higher ceiling for the future, but I think it might take a little longer to try to really figure out how that team is going to work, but I'm very high on the Cavs. I think if they were to win, I wouldn't be surprised. But the teams I would take over real quick: Celtics, Heat, Bucks, Raptors, Sixers, Nets. So that would slot them in at what, 8? 1 second, 1, 2, 6, 7. Yeah, so that would slot them in at 8. Um, it's just a tough East. Those are 7 really good teams who I think could all make the finals. Um, so yeah, so about the 8, I think they could make a run, but I think a lot of teams are just better than them as of now. Um, but other than that, I did hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, this was one of my more boring videos because I think the Hawks are kind of a hard team to really project. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know who. I think I'm going to do Donovan Mitchell trades for tomorrow because I do want to mix in some other NBA stuff. And then I'm going to launch a second channel soon where I play games because I think I'm pretty funny and I want to mix my comedy into my videos more. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you want, if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't, please tell me how I can make it better. But other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow.